Okay, some of you watch my videos and the question that you have is, why am I living in a hostel? Why am I staying in this type of place where I'm living in a dorm with other people? And then on the other side is, most of you are tourists, 100% tourists, and never actually tried to travel for a month, 2 months, 3 months. Um, Financially, I don't know anybody hardly that can afford to pay $100 to $200 a day, and then also normally this person has a house at home and they're double dipping it, right? They're paying for the house at home and the vacation, and they end up, $200 a day times 30 days is $6,000. And very few people ask themselves whether this would be the type of living that they would like to have. And now I don't live in hostels because of I want to. I live in hostels because it's the only way that I'm willing to pay that much money to live in that country. Okay, I'm not going to go to Germany. I'm not going to go to France. I might go there for 1 week. Yeah, and I'll pay $100, $200 a day to live in France or whatever uh, for a week. But I'm not going to go there and live a month or 2 months. I've lived over 50 days right now in Israel, which is one of the most expensive. Tel Aviv is one of the five most expensive cities on the planet. Would I come here if I had to pay $200 a night? I wouldn't even think about it. Okay, and so the mathematics comes down to this: am I going to pay $12,000 to come to Israel? No way. I mean, it's not worth it even slightly. Okay, but you'll see different people. What's interesting, and most of you will say, I would never live in a hostel. A lot of you will say really stupid things like, I'll never use a squat toilet, which when the bus stops in Thailand and that's all there is, you're going to do it. Okay. But generally, I'm going to give you 5 ways to decide whether it's worth trying to live in a hostel. Now, I'll tell you the reason to live in a hostel, besides finances, is it's a great way to have a lot of people to talk to. And not in Israel. Okay, this is one of the worst places possible to live in a hostel. But in Europe, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, a lot of good times. You don't need to live in a hostel in Central and South America or Southeast Asia. I got to say, sometimes in Africa, Africa's not cheap. Okay, but you do have, you can see one of the signals that tells you about the economics is missionary groups, volunteer groups, will go live in hostels because they know that their group of people that they're bringing for a month or two cannot afford to live in a hotel. And but if you go to Iceland, you'll find that almost everybody there lives in a hostel because it's the only economical way to travel. Okay, but I'm going to give you 5 questions you can ask yourself. But the 5th question is incredibly important that you hear because it's the number 1 reason why you probably shouldn't live in a hostel. And it's quite simple, but it's a bias that people have. But everybody that travels for years on end, like I just was in Cyprus and I was in a hostel with 3 people that were over 70 years old, and they all had, well, I was 69 years old and they were over 70, and all 3 of us had been in over 100 countries, and we all at time to time live in hostels. Why? Because it's the best, it's the most economical way to travel, not to be a tourist, to be a traveler. Okay, but few people there's almost nobody that can afford to live and pay. To really be a tourist in this country, you need to spend about $300 to $400 a day. $400 a day times 30 days is $12,000, right? Is that right? Okay, but these are the 5 questions you got to ask yourself. When I go into a shower here, and this is always normal, okay? When you go into a shower in a hostel, you have to stand up to change your clothes. There's a bunch of videos like the old man test that you can watch on YouTube where they talk about the, and that means in the old man's test, they want you to take your shoes. Pretty much what they do is they give you your shoes and socks and they want you to stand there and put them on while you're standing. And you have to do this while you're in a shower. I have to stand in the shower. I have to be very careful because the floor is wet, and I'll put back on my pants and do it. Now, there's people, old farts here that will go disgustingly, they're weighing 250 pounds. They'll walk in the shower with a towel on, and it's really disgusting. You got to have some empathy for the people that you're living with, and it's often there is no empathy. Okay, but can you dress standing up? Can you put your socks and shoes on standing up? I'm not that good free flow, but I can kind of lean against the wall and do it. I can definitely put my pants on. Putting my socks and my shoes on standing up is a little bit difficult yet. Okay, number 2, can you get into the top bunk of a bunk bed? Can you climb in there and get in there? I mean, there's like the first. They in the spot hostel, they put me in the top bunk. I was there for 2 or 3 days. I can get in there. So the number 2 question is, can you get yourself up in the top bunk of a thing? Number 3, do you have to urinate more than one time a night? The way the hostels are working right now is they have these key cards. I can maybe show you one. They have these key cards, just like you have at an expensive hotel, and you can't get in the room without it clicks and it opens the door. And I'm not sure exactly why they went on such heavy security this way, but I think a lot of it's to stop in a lot of the very expensive countries like the United States or Germany or whatever, you do have a lot of locals that they don't have any money that try to live here. So this is a problem here in Israel. But if you have to urinate more than one time a night, you're going to have a lot of trouble, okay? Because there's a lot of times where it's just so onerous and so difficult that you have to leave your bunk, your bed, you go. It's just not a tenable thing. So if you have one of those guys that does it 3 or 4 times a night, just not the thing to do, living in a hostel. Number 4 is, can you carry your bags up steps? It seems like you're going to go in these hotels where they're billed as hotels. There's not really many places that are built to be hostels. I'm not sure if I've ever been in one, but they usually take these sort of difficult buildings and they try to optimize the money. Because see, what happens is the reason for a hostel, the reason why people want them is if you have, like my room's got 10 people and they're all paying $20, they're paying 20 times $20 to $30 a night. Say $25 a night, they're paying $250 a night, and it's almost always full. So $250 a night for a hotel is quite good. Okay, so but can you walk up the steps? Like I'm actually on the 3rd floor of the place right now. I'm at the kitchen area, and I had to walk up. Really, it'd be more like 4 flights of stairs. Can you walk up there without a rail? Can you just free flow? Can you just carry your bag up there? A lot of people, especially tourists, carry bags that are so. I'm always amazed now. We have very few backpacks here in this hotel. Most of it is big luggage, okay? And bringing these up 3 or 4 flights of stairs is a lot of work. And here's the question that you have to ask yourself before you go live in a hostel. Do you respect young people? Can you give them the respect that they deserve? And can the young people give you the respect you deserve? It's often a 2-way street. Inside the United States, there's a real older age thing. So it's much more difficult sometimes to live inside the United States with American people. American people are not going to normally be in a hostel inside the United States. It's going to be all foreigners. and this is one of the things, when you're in a hostel and you've got some locals in there from the country, you got to question what's going on, because that means the cost of living so high that people are actually living in hostels to save on money. And that's not really the best place to live. But number 5, do you have the respect of youth? Do you allow them to be young and dumb and crazy, right? If you can't give all people respect, there's no reason to live in a hostel. It's all about things. So number 1, can you dress Stanley? Can you get in the number 2? Can you get in the top bunk? 3, do you have to urinate 3 or 4 times a night? Number 4, steps to carry up the bag. Can you carry your bag up and down the steps? This is not a concert situation. This is not where I was laughing. One of this hotel recommended they'll help you carry your bags up, and of course I get here and there's nobody to help you, right? But number 5, respect of youth, and the people that respect youth can do it. But the number 1 reason why I live in hostels is because I am not going to go to Germany and pay $200 a night and live there for 3 months. If you want the experience of understanding a country, you got to stay there more than 7 days. 7 days, 7 nights is just a lick. It's not a bite. It's you got a lick of the thing, but you don't really get to understand the culture. After I'm through here with Israel, I will have spent almost 60 days in this country, and I will understand better the culture. That doesn't mean I understand or know what's going on here. I just got a much better flavor than, when you live in a 5-star hotel, you actually don't learn much about a country because you're living in a place. So like when a business guy comes over and lives, they don't understand the country. You gotta take public transport, live with the people, try to understand the people, go to the markets if you want to understand the actual country. Okay, so those are your 5 questions you ask, and that will help you to make a decision whether you want to live in a hostel. I do not live in hostels in Central and South America. That's just silliness. All they're doing is they're taking advantage of the European travelers that think that they have to live in a hostel. Okay, there's people that believe that the only way they can afford to travel is to camp, live in a hostel, or live in their car. And this just is silliness. I don't live in my car, and I don't really want to camp, and I don't want to live in hostels. I would like to live in the private room in hostels, because the intelligence that is inside a hostel is always 10 times more than in a hotel. The people that are in the hostel are talking and communicating, and they do it. That don't apply to Israel. I don't have any of the Israelis talking to me here, and this is almost completely full of Israelis here. There's hardly any tourists here right now, but I came here during the war zone, right? It's 2005, about, January 23rd. I'm here and you're not. Why not? And you have to decide whether you want to go to certain countries and how much money it's worth to visit them. Are you going there just to stick your nose in like the Centurion clubs or the most traveled people where you're just going to spend 2 days there? Or are you actually trying to travel to understand people? I'm here and you're not. Why not? Andy Lee Graham. I've been in 115 countries, and I've been doing this now for 26 plus years.